I'm Rick Buig.
I'm Sarah
I'm
Stockdale.
Andrew
Sorry,
Corway.
I forgot my
Wait.
name for a sec.
Good start.
All right. From the top.
Woo!
From the top. I am Rick Buig.
I'm Sarah Stockdale.
I'm Andrew Corway.
And coming to you from San Francisco's nicest toilet, I'm Tommy Guy. And this is Pagenerd.
Tommy, where are you right now?
Surrounded by sheets and a bathroom in a hotel in San Francisco. My mic is on the toilet. My friends are down on the floor on my laptop. And in between is just like the grossest stain on the comforter that I did use last night.
It's important to note that when Tommy says his friends are on the floor, that's us. We're on the
We're
floor.
on the floor.
There's a video feed of us.
That's true. Just to be very clear, I did not, there's no like dead people or anything. No situation.
But like based on how the bathroom looks, like I wouldn't be surprised if like it's definitely giving serial
Look,
killer.
San Francisco is
Yeah.
expensive. This is a 4-star hotel in San Francisco with like 2-star linens. It's not great. But more importantly, you're really not supposed to just like put all of your sheets in like the brightest light you can find. This comforter is foul. There's like I'm just going to be staring at this big like stain. I think it's, yeah.
This is great, Tommy. Off to a great start.
Oh, boy.
It's like,
We're looking at...
there's like my mic and then right beside it is just like a huge brown stain.
Also, I've never like been the toilet brush before in any calls.
Yeah,
It's a
sorry.
new experience for me too, Sarah, and I'm enjoying every second of it.
Yeah.
I was worried about this, but I thought it'd be fun. And I don't know. I think it's going to work out.
And also, I think this is the first time Tommy's referred to me as his friend, so I'm still emotionally reeling
Oh my
from
God.
that.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Hey, folks. So we actually record these episodes way before we release them. And that gives our producer, Jay, a chance to make us sound smart. In this case, we recorded this episode before the current war in the Middle East. And this book talks a lot about war. We want to return to this subject. We'll talk more about it at the end of the podcast. But we didn't want to get started without just acknowledging the pain and the strife that is happening right now. And so we'll see you back at the end and talk more. Okay, what are we here to... Oh yeah, we're here to talk about. Welcome to Pagenerd, a podcast about science fiction books. Today, we're going to talk about a classic space drama called Forever War. This book is like very famous before we were born. As I sort of researched it, it's like, wow, this book it was very well regarded.
Who wrote it, Tommy?
This book was written by Joe Haldeman. And I actually want to say a few things about Joe Haldeman because I think it matters a lot. He received a degree in physics in 1967 and then was immediately drafted. He was turned into a combat engineer, served in Vietnam. He was actually wounded in combat and received a Purple Heart. He then left and he got an MFA from the Iowa Writers Workshop, which is sort of the like premier MFA maybe in the entire world. So he did all that and then he's like, I'm going to write a spy novel about his experience in Vietnam and we're going to read it.
That gives a lot more context to this book. I was wondering where it all came from, and it sounds very much like the author.
Reading this book and you're like, who hurt you? And the answer is the United States fucking Army.
Yeah, and you can tell.
And also maybe somebody in combat.
I didn't know anything you just said about Joe Haldeman, but I could tell like whoever was writing this book had military experience because it was written in a way that was like strangely aggressive, but also like not caring about humanity. You could just tell they had some sort of experience with military.
Yeah, like life is cheap and there's a bit of a macho thing going on. We should actually talk a little bit about this. We're getting the inner monologue of an early 20s army bro. It reads a little sexist. We're going to talk about this. Part of this is a dystopian hellscape, but I just found that like, yeah, the entire monologue is very much, I'm a mid-20s, like very sarcastic, just, you know, I've been drafted and I'm not super happy and I'm probably going to never see 30. That's the vibe throughout the book.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if this vibe was more like while he was in the army with all these other young guys, if this came up a lot and this sort of talking in the way it was questioning might be why
Oh,
you see a
totally.
lot of like this sexual conduct in the early book. Is just that might have been the vibe for his platoon or whatever.
It's kind of making me grateful I'm the person who didn't read this book. I listened to the first few pages because I was
Oh
like,
boy.
maybe I can try to like speed get it done. And I listened to the first like few pages and was like, it's not for me.
I read the first few pages and was like, this is not for Sarah. So
Did you listen to the audio version, Sarah?
Yes, the like one from 1999 that you had to.
Yeah, so I listened to the audiobook. It was narrated by someone named George Wilson, just to give a credit. And it sounded like this old man recording it. So like it was this book from whatever it was, 1977. And then the person recording it sounded like this weird old man recorded from 1999.
That made it so much creepier. Like the
Oh, yeah.
early sex scene, I only got one, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna audience proxy this one out. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want to hear me describe these young people? Like it was absolutely,
Oh.
it was
Yeah.
a wild ride.
Yeah. So I didn't read it.
Yeah. So, okay, we're going to get into more of the sex, but not that much more of the sex because it's not the sex we want to talk about.
It's like social commentary around.
Exactly.
I thought it was like more progressive than I was expecting when their books started.
I had the same thought. Yes. Okay, so let's set the stage. We're in the mind of this like not very woke, kind of horny army guy. He's been drafted into a space war. It's around 1997, which for perspective, that's about 25 years after this guy was writing. And I guess the first question, who are we fighting? We don't actually know. We are fighting some alien species. We've never seen one. They're called the Taurons throughout the book. And that's only because the first time we lost a ship to the Taurons, it was in Taurus. We don't know where they're from. We know very little about them. But hoorah, we are going to fucking fight them. The space race has accelerated. We also got really lucky. We found these things called collapsars. I don't know, Rick, can you explain what this is? It's a wormhole?
Not really. So collapsar seems to be like a hypothetical celestial body. I don't know how it differs from a wormhole. To me, it sounds very much.
It's just a wormhole.
Yeah, exactly. So he's made up a new word for a wormhole, but it works exactly the same way by the sounds of things.
So a wormhole, okay, a constant theme throughout this book is going to be the speed of light, right? Which is this sort of universe-wide maximum possible speed. You cannot go faster than the speed of light. You guys have heard of like a light year? So that is how far light travels in 1 year. Well, if you're talking about a galaxy that's 10,000 light years away, you cannot. There is no way to get there in less than 10,000 years. This makes space travel just like pretty boring. And so wormholes make for good science fiction.
What is a wormhole?
Yeah, sure. So a wormhole is theoretical. Like they do not exist as far as we know in physics. They could exist in math. They could exist physically. We haven't seen any versions of them that exist in the universe. A way that's often described, or a way of thinking about it, if you take space-time and it's this big flat line, and like Tommy said, to get from here to there, you have to travel all the way through space-time. If you bent that in half and then stuck a pencil through the middle of it, that's a wormhole. So it's a way to, instead of going all the way around, you go straight from one spot to another.
So what if you took a V and turned it into an A? And now there's a line through the middle.
Got it. Makes sense.
It's a magic way to go from here to there without spending any time or energy. But apparently in the Forever War, you got to get there. You got to get to them and be going really fast. And so they've also invented a new way of propulsion, basically, that is much, 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 much better than our teeny rockets that we use today. So they can go really fast and they can go through wormholes and get to other places. That's pretty cool. Probably we would have accelerated the space race if we had discovered these things and, we would be traveling out to various places. And then, I don't know, they did and they got into a war. It's what you do. They sent out Christopher Columbus and he's like, I don't see anything here that can accept syphilis, but I can shoot back.
Like Tommy said, we don't know what they look like because it's only been spaceship on spaceship.
So William Mandela, the main character, he's like, I have no clue what this war is about. We're told that these aliens are bad news. They're around these wormholes, which are very valuable for us to get around. And they started it. They had it coming. That was kind of the tone that the military. But he's also very confused. He's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to survive.
Interesting. So there's like not a ton of mythology about the enemy other than that they're
No,
the bad guys and we're the good guys.
correct.
Seems like a bad way to have a war.
It's the only way we have wars.
You need at least some storytelling, like to get people on board.
But they make one up.
Oh, yeah, fair.
I mean, the average 21-year-old in the middle of nowhere in America wasn't like fucking Vietnamese. Like, what the hell? You know, like
Sure.
they were just like, you're fighting them now. It's like, why? Like, unclear, right? And it was kind of unclear. This is why this book is like a classic. He just like nails the experience of being a foot soldier in a war that makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, it makes sense economically. Someone's making money off of all this war, but
Somebody is getting rich. Most people are getting poor or dead or not impacted. That's the magic of this book is you're like, oh yeah, no, this tracks on every war. So we've met William Mandela. He's a private. He's just entered basic training. Basic training is like brutal. People die. Basically, with very little training, they strap you into what they call like a battle suit. It's got some cool tricks it can do. One is what they call like log-powered strength. So imagine you jump. Instead of just like your legs jumping, you can dial it up so that it's like double or 4 times or 8 times your strength. You know, it can handle all sorts of extremes of temperature and yada, yada. It's very clearly designed to like get the soldier to the battle and keep them alive long enough to kill something. But if they die in the process, it's not that big of a deal. And multiple people die in training. They're training on some, remote planet. They die in training from stuff like if you fall on your back, that's where like the heat fins are that vent heat. You'll fall on like frozen hydrogen because it's super cold and just like go skittering off into space and die.
Yeah, I think they're on one of the moons of Pluto or something like that.
Yeah.
They're on a planet called Charon. And yeah, they have like a base, and then the whole mission is to set up a second base on the dark side of this very, very cold.
It's training.
Yeah.
Oof.
And then once they set up their training base, it's attacked with live fire. So like very early on, you learn, I think, 2 really important things. One is that human life is cheap. So the suit has a really tiny atomic bomb built in that'll just vaporize you. Because like not even like molecules come back. They can't figure out that we have DNA. Or just like literally vaporize you. So that's built into your suit. So this is not designed to like protect humans. This is designed to protect the army.
I hate it so much, and it's so familiar.
there's a really good scene during the training where one of his fellow soldiers like vent at the back isn't working, and he has like a fever. He's like looking sluggish, and William's like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" The text like, "Oh, his vent fan isn't working. Like, he's a goner. Send him off."
Deader is what they call them.
Deader.
He's a deader. They call if you die, you're a deader. He fixes the suit or gets him another suit replacement or something like that, and then saves the life. But everyone else is like, "What are you doing? Like, this is a waste of resources, waste of time. We got to get this base made." And they're not necessarily wrong because, again, their trainers came at them with live rounds.
The army doesn't care, but you do
They
get
don't
this
care.
sense that the platoon cares about each other. Partially because they're fucking just like constantly. So that, But yeah, there is a sense of like, there's a couple of times where William goes out of his way to save somebody, whereas the army would have been like, well, it's expendable.
Is there gay stuff or is it just very...
There's going to be a lot of gay stuff later.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
There's a bit of gay stuff now, but not that much. So the military purposefully gives you a random bunkmate. If your bunkmate's a guy, you might get on with the guy, and then all the unfortunate women that were in the platoon are also like shared amongst the men. Like that's like a thing that goes on.
Oh,
So it's not-
hate
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. It's called both convention and law that women should accept passes that are made at them.
Gross.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's like incel rules.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
exactly right.
They don't want you getting attached. That's one of the things that
Yes.
all the rules
Oh.
are like, don't form attachment out in space. But also like it is incel rules by this nature.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not great.
that sounds like a very right-wing army.
The other thing that I thought was like really like spot on was the limited role of humans. They're there, right? They're like the meat in the can. But when they build this base, the primary defense is this like space laser that's completely automated, fired by computers because the drones and stuff coming into attack are going so fast. The only thing the human does is hold on to what's called like a dead man switch, right? So it's basically imagine 2 handles and you hang on to both of them. And if you let go of either one of them, the laser will just start firing. So your job as a human is to just be there, If you get killed, well, something killed you, so it's on. And if you're still there, you're hanging on the handles, and that prevents friendly fire if some good ship is coming in. That's it, man. You're out there in space risking your life to hang onto the handle. And so this is the first of many times where we see that the war is fought by computers.
Ooh, we're the human in the loop already.
They have all sorts of jargon like that for AI now, right? Like human in the loop is like the human has control over the AI. Human on the loop is the AI does it.
Yeah.
The human can opt out, and then obviously human out of the loop is like they're gone.
So basically, we're the human on the loop in this scenario. We're just like meat sacks helping make sure it happens and not necessarily essential.
At no point is it clear why humans need to be there. I think there is a, hand wavy like, whoa, human judgment. But at any given time, the humans that are actually in battle have been hypnotized to have no judgment. So there's that. And then many of the future battle scenes actually happen where the humans are like in essentially an incapacitated state to handle high gravity maneuvers. Like Formula One cars can go up to like 5 Gs, like lateral force. You go around a turn. If you go above that, you pass out. Well, so if you suspend the humans for a little while, you can do better than that. So let's suspend our meat cans with all their judgment and let the computers duke it out. But we kept the humans for the judgment. Like, it makes no goddamn sense, and it's not supposed to make sense.
Death and violence for the sake of expendable death and violence, and not actually for a reason. Ugh.
To feed the machine. Yeah. So we've made it through basic training, and you've learned how to be a soldier, which is you are a machine that, you're a bad machine that keeps the good machines going, basically. They hop in their shuttle, and they take off at what they describe it as, like, how much acceleration are you doing? And here they're doing 2 Gs. That is twice the rate that you would fall if you just jumped off of something, right? That's the way to think about it. So the way this works in space is you can, as long as you're accelerating, you will continue to go faster. And then sort of halfway through the trip, what you do is you flip your ship around and you start decelerating at the same rate.
So if you think about it as relative to being in a car where you're accelerating, you're getting faster and faster and faster, but the wind is slowing you down, or the wheels and the friction on them is slowing you down. In space, there's nothing slowing you down. So if you took your foot off the accelerator, you would just continue traveling at that velocity.
Yeah. But if you kept your foot on the accelerator, you would just keep going faster and faster and faster and faster. And that's what they do. They get up to something like 5.1% of the speed of light. Yeah, that's fast. That is getting to that realm where relativistic effects and time dilation and stuff take over. Rick, do you want to just tee up a little bit about time dilation? Because now we're heading to battle and we're going really fast. And so things are about to happen to us.
So Albert Einstein came up with this theory called general relativity. There's also special relativity. They both apply to the same theory of space-time. In classic physics, you have just space and just time, like the space that exists around you. Things happen in it over time. When you get out into relativistic speeds, space and time are actually this one thing. So they call this the fabric of space-time. And basically, they interact with one another, and gravity interacts with them as well. So the way of thinking about this relationship with time dilation is that as you move more quickly through space, you experience less time relative to the things around you. So it's basically this trade-off between how quickly you're moving relative to other things and how much time you're experiencing. So the tricky thing about this is that you have to, when you talk about how quickly you're traveling, it has to be relative to something else, right? You're only moving fast compared to something else that exists in the world. So if you're traveling close to the speed of light, from your perspective, time is not slower. It is the same as it always is. It's only when you have that relative frame of someone else looking at you that's not moving as quickly or is moving faster that you're experiencing time differently between those two frames.
So to put a weird point on this, I'm in San Francisco. Yesterday, I was on an airplane. Time slowed down a little bit for me while I was in the airplane because I was going 300 or 400 miles an hour faster than you were at the time. And scientists have actually done this to confirm, this is one of the experiments to confirm relativity. They took a clock up in a high-altitude airplane going really fast. And I think later it took one up into space, right, orbiting the Earth. It's going really fast. And, it's an atomic clock, super accurate. They take that up. They brought it down. Yeah, they had different readings. Back to the Forever War, if you're going 5% of the speed of light, if you're going really fucking fast, then yeah, this actually adds up. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about the battle. Spoiler alert, the main character does survive the first battle. When he gets back to the base, it's 21 years later. On that one mission, what they call subjective time for him, which may have taken a month, 21 years have passed back on Earth. And that theme is a constant throughout this book of once you get in a spaceship, once you accelerate to up near the speed of light, you have left the world behind. Not in a sense of you've left it and you could come back if you survive. No, you're moving so much faster through time compared to the frame of reference of the Earth that you are basically leapfrogging the Earth in time, which is wild. And that's like the cool conceit of this book is, the book starts in 1997 and ends in like 3184 or something. Why? Because this dude spends a lot of time going really fast.
Hello, I'm Jay. I'm the producer of Pagenerd, and because we don't have ads yet, we're running shout-outs for our favorite indie bookstores and local libraries. One place I find myself going back to time and time again is Barker Phoenix in Toronto. It's a dedicated sci-fi and fantasy bookstore. That's all they have, sci-fi and fantasy. But they have all of the sci-fi and fantasy. Like, I had been trying to find Foreigner by C.J. Cherryh for forever, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And when I went in, they didn't have Foreigner, but they had another C.J. Cherryh book, and I bought that, and then they ordered Foreigner for me, because the staff are just so helpful and so knowledgeable, and if you don't quite know what you want as well, if you're like, I want some sci-fi that makes me feel hopeful and has a tinge of space opera, they can answer that question. They'll get you the book. So Barker Phoenix in Toronto, it's in Harvard Village. It's awesome. Go there, buy a book, pick something you haven't seen before. You won't regret it.
Battle 1, they land on this new planet. They end up having to sort of hike some distance to get to the enemy base. There's a discussion about the fauna of the planet, the flora of the planet, that I'm not going to spend much time on because Joe Haldeman doesn't either, and will never speak of it again on any other planet.
We should stop for a second too, because at this point in the book, we're introduced to Mary Gay Potter. The commander's ordering people to kill these creatures. She's like, I don't really want to. And immediately she gets demoted. Like, okay, you're out. They came across the planet's panda bears and thought they were intelligent life. And then they killed it.
They hike through the grasslands. They get followed around by these 5-legged koala bears. Eventually, they do find the base. They have a battle. It's not much of a battle, to be honest. The Taurons maybe just aren't used to warfare yet. They've basically only ever engaged in ship-to-ship combat. And so their weapons can only shoot up in the air. So the soldiers on the ground just basically walk up. The Taurons come out of their base. They look kind of like hourglassy. I don't know. They look like aliens.
They do get into a good description of the aliens. So Tommy said they kind of look like hourglasses. They said they had very small, ineffectual legs. They're kind of in a bubble.
They're awkward as hell. That's what it sounds like.
And they just get slaughtered. I think that the notable thing, again, for the theme of sort of the army is you learn that actually all of the soldiers have been hypnotized in the past and have a trigger phrase to turn them into homicidal maniacs. Right before the battle, they trigger this phrase, and empathy out. And then they just go rampage.
Yeah, and the way he describes it is he has visions of these Taurons, even though he doesn't know what they look like. And the things that he's seeing, the Taurons that he's seeing on the battlefield don't match up what's in his memory. But because it's been hypnotically conditioned, he knows that the things in his memory are the same as what he sees in front of him. And it's like them eating babies and stuff like that, just all this horrible stuff that they've pre-programmed in. And again, it says it doesn't turn him into a killing machine, but it makes it much, much easier.
I mean, this has been done in every war, basically ever. But it feels a lot like the Crusades almost, of just they're over there. We've never met anybody that's not European. And you can sort of make up whatever story you want about what they do. And then you just get well, of course I'm going to kill them. They're baby eaters.
I think the Crusades is a really good analogy. There's lots of accounts on the Crusades where the crusading knights went to Anatolia, modern day Turkey, and they found the Nicaeans. They're Christians, but the Crusaders didn't know them and they killed them anyway. You jazz up an army and you get them ready for war, then they just go tearing through everything, right?
They're going to go war. Yeah.
They're going to go war. That's right.
Speaking of, it's time to go to battle again. It's years later. And this is an interesting thing, right? They're going off. They're spending a bunch of time at what we call relativistic speeds. And it means that your month-long journey to the battle takes years. So you're in this situation where one force has left to go and fight a battle. Maybe 15, 20 years later, in this accelerated scientific atmosphere, another force leaves and takes off. And they're completely different. It would be like one force leaves from World War I with World War I weapons, and the next one leaves for like the Vietnam War with Vietnam War weapons. We've invented like jet engines and atomic bombs in between two different platoons leaving for battles that happen approximately at the same time. But they take off, and true to form, they also have some new fancy equipment. And the key one is what they call the gravity suit. So again, this point of humans don't really matter much. They realize, and this, by the way, is happening today in the real army, they realize that the limitation to maneuverability of a ship is the human inside. Modern drones can do things that modern warplanes cannot because humans are the weak link. So they solve this not by sending out drones, but by putting the humans in what they call a gravity suit. So the problem that you want to experience is basically to normalize the pressure inside and out. The way to think about this is if you're going deep down in the ocean, like those guys that went down to the Titanic and they just got crushed, right? Creatures live down there, but their internal body pressure, their pressure pushing out is the same as the pressure pushing in. Same for you, by the way. That's why you don't explode on the Earth's surface. But if you could somehow make humans push out more, like stuff them fuller, then they could survive higher Gs. So they take this stuff, oxygenated fluorocarbons, and they basically stuff the humans full of this stuff. They put it down every orifice. They also all have a thing in their hip that lets you fill their like guts, their interstitial areas with this fluid. They describe it as being crushed and bloated at the same time. Not great. But once you're in this suit, you're out. You're sort of sedated and you're just like waiting the thing out while the ship does whatever maneuvers it's going to do. So once again, we're in this stupid situation where the humans are there. They're completely incapacitated while the computers duke it out. And then if you come back out of this state, I guess you won. During this, we learned that Mary Gay was in the ship. She's actually badly hurt. There's a crease in her suit. And have you ever like slept on sheets where they're creased a little bit and you wake up and you've got like a little red line somewhere on your body? It's that, but you're at the bottom of the ocean and the entire ocean is pressing the crease into your back. And so it just like cuts her wide open. Sarah's making faces, inaudible faces.
That sounds insane. Ew.
They ripped her open. Yeah.
Women are not being treated well here.
The good news that comes out of this is that we do learn that despite the Army's best efforts, Mary Gay and Sergeant, or I guess now Private Mandela still, are very much in love. They're a couple now. It seems that they will gladly still sleep with other people, but we're starting to see some romantic love come into the situation despite everybody's efforts.
Do they mention at all if it's incel rules for the women?
No, it seems like almost the opposite. It's incel rules, man. The women are like totally game.
It reminds me of when they say like, well, a comedian's not racist. He makes fun of everyone. It's the same way with the way sexual conduct is treated in here. It's like, no, everyone always wants to have sex.
They're all horny.
Okay, I see.
I read it differently.
Okay.
There were some lines where they're like, the women were looking a little tired.
Oh, yeah, this is grim.
Outwardly, they had to be cool with it. But actually, when you actually looked at their behavior and how they're faring, they were more tired than the others. I think they were getting sick of it and stuff like that. And then factor in Mary Gay's perspective where she's trying to couple with Mandela and William. She doesn't want to go with the random dudes. She might have to, right? And I don't think it was a surprise also that Mary Gay and William are far from the command, right? These ships are relatively autonomous because of the time dilation, right? They have their orders, they go and do them, they come back, and that's that. I think the subtext here is like no one really liked it that much except for the incel perverts.
But it's entirely subtext. Like at no point is it reckoned with. Sexuality comes up later, so there's like a bit of a social reckoning overall, but like it never comes up on a personal basis for any of the people that are in this army doing these acts.
The battle never happens. They get hit by a pebble at 0.9 c, in other words, 0.9 of the speed of light. And due to relativistic effects, that pebble, it's going to be about 1.2 billion times more damage than would happen if you were to like throw a pebble at somebody. And completely obliterates a part of their ship. And so they all basically leave and go home. Some people die. It's grim, but Mandela, Mary Gay, survives her ordeal. But they get home. And the cool thing about this is it's been 21 years. The army generals back home sitting around are waiting. You're like, oh, yeah, you've been in the army for, according to us, 21 years. You're free to go. It is 2024 and Earth fucking sucks. We do learn that they're all millionaires because they've been earning combat pay for the last 20 years, accruing interest on it. So they have a lot of money.
Well, no, they don't have money. They have calories, Tommy.
Well, sorry, they don't have money. So we learn a few things. They basically have an orientation session to be like, let's tell you about Earth. This part, by the way, one of my favorite parts of the book is the description of Earth. There were food riots. Population hit 9 billion. That's too many. There were riots. There was like mass death. The population plummeted. It's back on its way up. There seems to be sort of a UN-led worldwide government. The entire place is on a war footing. So effectively all of the output of the entire world is to support this war effort that is completely abstract. These guys that come home, there's 27 of them, are the first people to have ever come back from the war that has been going on for 20 or 30 years. But the entire Earth has wrecked itself to prepare for that war.
Yeah, I really love these chapters. William literally goes to Earth, meets his mother,
who's 21 years older than she should be.
Yeah, so it's pretty trippy. There's also, you start to get some hints that like his mom has a lesbian lover.
Ooh, the gay stuff.
And we learned that as part of the population control mechanism, most countries are actually strongly encouraging homosexuality.
This book is way before its time in the 70s. Well done, team.
It isn't, because it definitely describes like the mind of like a 21-year-old like army dude. So he's like not super cool with everybody being gay, but yeah, everybody's gay.
So everybody's gay, but this guy is like a boomer trapped in the body of a 21-year-old at this point.
2/3 of people are unemployed. And the max tax rate is 92%. So it's just this weird, you know that somebody out there is getting rich. There's a war on, somebody's going to get rich, but most people are just sort of suffering.
And all of their money is now calories. So like you can trade calories to people, and that's the amount of food that you could redeem for whatever it is, rice or water or something like that. But you would trade all goods and services in terms of how many calories you have.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like everybody's is, sort of right on the edge of poverty and fighting off rampant crime.
The only people that can get jobs that can show that they're like severely destitute. Like if you have no other options, they can get you a job. And so anyone that has a job starts earning an income in calories. But then if they get bored, they like don't quit that job. They like sublet part of that job out. And then that gets sublet. And then there's like brokers involved. So like all of employment is like people working gig work essentially, but for a full-time career. It's absolutely wild.
Like whoever had the job officially is getting half of the pay. Right, they're giving the other half to a series of either people working the job or further partitioning that thing down and brokers, et cetera. So if you're just like a random person, you're earning a fraction of the already paltry pay for the job that you're actually doing, and you're paying the person that sort of holds the rights to the job.
So it's sort of like the 2008 market crash, but for employment.
I like to think of it as like the crab market.
Go on.
Tell me more.
Okay, this is a real thing. There are crab boats and fish boats parked in Ballard in Seattle that are in the water, but I would not take them out to sea. And the reason they still float is that they own the rights to go get the fish. And you can sell the rights to go get the fish. So these guys are sitting on a boat in the harbor being like, I own 1,000 tons of crab, let's say. And if you want to buy the right to fish that, you have to give me some money. So now if you actually like take the risk and go out and catch the crab, then you're paying a piece of that to just like the guy that was there first. And as long as that guy's boat still floats, it's his crab because it's supposed to be tied to the boat. It's that, but for humans.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Tommy.
Oh my God. I didn't know that was a thing, and B, horrifying on both counts. Got it.
Anyway, Earth sucks. There's this scene where they go to like a compound, if you will, basically a farm in South Dakota, which seems like it might be the best life one could have. Although there's also a vibe where maybe everybody that's there was like kidnapped and is sort of in indentured servitude.
And they go on a European vacation, Tommy. They take a dirigible over to Europe.
Well, they're millionaires.
Yeah, so they have a lovely time. They get some steak. They go on a nice date. And then William has to kill someone that's trying to rob him later. So I think that's when he does his first kill is there.
He kills somebody that's trying to rape somebody.
But what I mean is he's done these 2 military battles and not killed anyone or done any military action. This is when he actually finally kills someone, is when he's back on Earth, when he's trying to defend someone.
Anyway, so there's some death there. They go to South Dakota. Mary Gay's family basically gets wiped out by sort of a marauding gang of looters. And Mary Gay and William are like, this sucks, let's go back. They have a guarantee from the army that number one, if they come back in, they can pick their assignment, and number two, they can stay together.
Leaving, they were told that they only really wanted these people for teaching anyway. So they felt fairly secure they were going to get their teaching job. They had a guarantee that they would.
They're the only people that have ever actually gone to battle with the Taurans. So like you could imagine them being instructors.
And so this entire, like, we've destroyed the economy over this nebulous war that these are the only folks who have ever come back from.
Yeah, they're 27 soldiers.
Okay.
Well, okay. So I was thinking about this the other day. If we think about wars going back in the last 100 years, right? World War II was a full war footing. Ford was making tanks, and everybody knew either somebody that was in the war or they were in the war themselves. I don't know what the figure is for Vietnam, but a far smaller chunk of the population was directly impacted. And the number that sticks in my head for the wars after 9/11 is that in the United States, around 1% of people were directly in the army or had a direct family member in the army. So war has become an abstraction that professional soldiers do. And in this book, if you're back on Earth, at least in this 2024 timeframe, war is an abstraction. Your life sucks. You're having food riots. All output is being shot off into space for the soldiers, none of whom have ever come back.
But you could go to war if you wanted to, Tommy.
I don't know. I probably would. You don't know what it's like out there. Maybe it's fine. Maybe you're just like a garrison duty guy on, the moon, right? Which is what they thought they were going to do. The minute they get to the moon, they get new orders being sent back into combat.
And they even make them write it into the contract that they're signing back up. They're like,
Yeah.
make sure you write it in there that we get whatever we want. We get to stay together.
Yeah. And immediately.
They slide the contract that doesn't have the language they were promised. And then William and Mary Gay is like, hey, where's the language? So they put it in. And then they get to the moon and immediately they're like, we promised that you'd have those jobs. We didn't say how long you'd have them. So they had them for like 30 seconds.
Oh, that's a fucking loophole I don't like.
Absolutely
Oh, shit.
brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so bad. So right back into combat, the next battle number 3, I guess we'll call it. So last time they had these gravity suits that were dangerous as hell. This time they still have a battle suit. It's much better now. Among the cool things it has are a series of sphincters made out of metal, like a butthole.
Sarah's face when you said sphincter just sent me.
Why are there so many buttholes in everything that we read? Like,
Sphincter is a fine word. It's fine. It doesn't have to be a butthole, but it's the same idea. Except for in this one, it's made out of razor blades, and it can cut off an amount of a limb that is necessary to save your life.
there's so much I hate about this.
Well, so, okay, hold on. If you get your foot blown off, that's not great. But if you're in a spacesuit and you get your foot blown off, that's like less good.
It's depressurized and you're dead. Yeah.
Yeah, you're dead. So the minute they get a puncture, they like cut that part off, cauterize the wound, fill you full of chemicals, and your war is over, in theory.
Yeah.
And it's good that they have this because on the way in, like in the landing ship, picture like World War II, you come lumbering in on a landing ship and like half the people die before they get to the beach. Their ship crashes, Mandela loses a leg, and Mary Gay loses an arm. The good news is they're scooped up by, the mop-up crew or somebody, and they get sent off to the rehab planet, which is called Heaven. It's the hospital planet. And, we soon learn the razor blade sphincters are not a humanitarian idea. If you have an alive soldier, maybe you can rehabilitate them and send them back out. So they send them to Heaven, the hospital planet. It's one of the only other planets that is described in detail, and it's beautiful. It's habitable. I believe it has slightly less gravity than Earth. It's got beaches. It's got deserts. It's got mountains. The cities were built by a very progressive civilization that sort of made them fit into the ecosystem. Some of them are underground. So the planet is sort of pristine in a way that, like, what if we'd done this? And again, it's hundreds of years in the future. So these are people that have generations ago watched their ancestors wreck the Earth. They come and colonize Heaven, and they're like, we're not doing that.
But it's also like just made for army rehabilitation, right?
It's
like
just
it's
the
not
army,
just
yeah.
that. It's not just that people have come and rehabilitated this. Like it's a military effort to make this thing as pleasant as possible for these military folks to rehabilitate so they can get back out there.
Right. Although, it's hundreds of years old and has been colonized for a while. And so there are people that were born, raised, lived, and died on Heaven as basically army nurses for these rare soldiers who come in from effectively the past to be rehabilitated. Super cool. On this planet, they are able to regrow limbs. And so that process is incredibly painful. It's horrible for them. They spend months rehabbing, maybe the longest time they're ever stationary in the entire book. They're rehabbing. One of them's growing a leg, one of them's growing an arm. But at the end of it, they're effectively returned to healthy, four-limbed humans.
I was gonna say, I like these chapters too because it was like romantic. They grow their limbs together, but then they're like going in the desert on dates. They're in this paradise world that has like amazing boreal forests. There's a sky city. They go on dates there. So they're just like spending time together. They're living the best life that they can live. That's what they're doing for like 6 months together.
And they keep on talking about compound interest. So like they'll earn money or they'll earn calories, I guess now, whatever currency it is. And since they're gone for so long in this time dilation, all of their money just keeps compounding with interest. That's why they're so fabulously wealthy.
They were millionaires. Now they're billionaires.
And they kind of know, they're like, yeah, we got to spend it now. We're not going to survive another round.
Yeah, after the army like stole their training career.
Yeah, they know, like they didn't put their legs back to be nice.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's this scene, they're on like a blimp traveling the sky city, traveling around heaven, and orders come in. And this time they get separate orders. So they're sent off in separate directions. And the weirdness of time dilation, right? If two people set off on ships at different speeds in different directions, they are lost to each other forever because the one of them will age. Even if you sort of are almost the same and meet back up, it would take not much for one of you to be 100 years older than the other. So this is probably goodbye. And, they're sent right back into combat, of course. The army does not need you unless you are in combat.
And I forget what Mary Gay gets sent off to, but they're upgrading William to become a major now. So he's going to be in command of a group of soldiers, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really say what happens to Mary Gay. She goes off her way. But yeah, he's promoted. And they sort of acknowledge, like, look, you've been in the army for like 1,000 years. Like, you can't be a private, dude.
Like he saw the beginning of the war, which like nobody can even think about anymore because it was hundreds of years ago.
But from their perspective, it hasn't actually been that long. So they're being like...
He's like 23, 24, maybe 25.
Like lionized as these
Yeah.
veterans.
Yeah, like they were in a battle for a few months. They were in another battle for a few months. They were on Earth for 6 months.
He's lost literally every battle except for one.
And two of them, he didn't make it to the battle. Like Tommy said, they just got shot down from the sky.
He's been in one battle. It was a massacre before the other side learned how to fight.
Failing upward.
He failed up by crashing two spaceships, basically.
Yeah,
but guess what? No one else survived, so tag you're it. I really like that. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, so this is like he's getting his own command. So when he's getting his own command, he gets a little bit like William gets onboarded onto what's changed and what he's going to be going through when he meets his new recruits. So he meets up with this one guy that talks to him about all this different stuff. I forget, this guy doesn't have any legs, right? He's not able to undergo the regrowth period, so he's...
Oh yeah, he's naturally immune to the regrowth thing. So they can't regrow him.
Yeah, and this guy's not as much of a vet as William, but he's been around for a while. So these two guys hang around and do some drinking and get to know one another. And this guy talks to him about what's going to happen when he meets his platoon. And one of the big things that comes up is that on Earth now, everyone has become homosexual. So like where before it was not mandated but encouraged, now it's like essentially mandated. And what they do is they undergo mental conditioning. So you have to become homosexual if you live on the Earth. If for whatever reason it doesn't take, or for whatever reason you remain heterosexual, it's like not seen as a disease, but it's seen as a disorder. Like you're other, it's weird that you're like that, it's unnatural.
You're called queer.
Well, that comes up later. So when he meets his platoon, they're all like, this guy's a weird sex maniac because he's heterosexual. So all of the staff that are working with him see him as this weird sexual anomaly because he's heterosexual. And like you said, yeah, for a while they call him whatever, Captain Queer or something like that, because he doesn't fit with the now all homosexual mandate of the Earth to control population. And so all new children that are born via IVF or in vitro fertilization or whatever.
But not even like through a vagina.
Yeah.
Like there's no uterus involved. It's more like a sac. And I think you emerge after like 7 years or something.
Yeah, and it's all done through eugenics too. It's like eugenics plays a part here where they're like only birthing people that are like of the genetic qualities that they're looking for. Like it's wild back on Earth where no one is procreating naturally. They've kept population limited at 1 billion. It's like someone dies and they have a new person come up.
They point out that like everybody sort of seems like basically the same race. They've sort of smoothed out race. But when they need a human, like when a human dies, they make a new one to keep the population level And I looked this up. So the Earth's population crossed 1 billion around 1804. So we're running forever at sort of that population. If you're not a homosexual, if you're a deviant, as they say, they actually ship you to planets for heterosexuals. And one of the reasons they keep these, somebody mentions this in the book, is, well, we did this eugenics thing. We're pretty sure we got it right. But if we fucked it up, we need like a seed bank. We need like some humans that have been like doing their thing for the last millennia. And we've got them. They're often like planet weirdo. Sarah, how do you feel about all this?
So my question here is like, what is the author trying to teach us with this? Or like, what is the author trying to demonstrate with this? If this is an allegory of the Vietnam War and he's kind of projecting us into the future, I see the population control pieces. And like my hunch as someone who hasn't read the book is like, this is just about controlling people. Like, we're just like showing you how easy it would be to shift narratives and control people and tell different stories. But what did you take from that, having read the whole book?
I felt like the author was trying to, because there's like all this the absurdity of like conversion therapy, right? I felt like the author was trying to put us in their shoes and flip the script. So like now you're a heterosexual that's being converted, and if you don't like that, then there's commentary there on like, why would you think it's good for a young gay or lesbian person, right? So I read it as more progressive, but I'd be curious to see what everyone else's take was.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the intentional fluidity of sexuality was probably a divisive thought in the 70s. There's this pendulum effect of swinging too far in one direction and then the other that the Army kind of fucks up sometimes. The Army, the UN, it's all the same thing at this point, right? They run the show. They're like, oh, we had too many people, so we're going to like swing all the way over to like full-ass population control. And then they swing actually later. It turns out that by the end of the book, thousands of years and time later, we're heterosexuals again. And so there's that, just like the people that are making these population-wide decisions don't know what they're doing. And they're like forcing things via hypnosis, et cetera, on people. Sexuality is one aspect of that is covered, but they're just like doing this willy-nilly, and they don't care about the implications for people like whatsoever.
Is there any nod to religion, or is it that this war is the religion?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Okay.
Never. The war is religion. Yeah.
That's incredibly interesting. It's like reverse conversion therapy, and like we know conversion therapy doesn't work and is horrifically abusive. And it's literally just them being like, oh, we've decided that we should go the other direction. Let's do the horrible abuse just in the other direction. And I like that from like being worried that maybe this author is a little bit sexist, a little bit. Yeah. But like this reads to me as pretty progressive.
Yeah, like William Mandela, obviously he doesn't like being referred to as Captain Queer, but he's also not hostile towards gays in the book. Right. Like he himself is like a little bit more neutral. So there's like an absurdity to like watching societies shift around him while he's just like him, and he just wants to be with Mary Gay the whole time.
Random question. How long is this book? This feels so long.
261 pages.
That is so short for how much is happening. This like, I'm picturing like a big, thick volume.
It's remarkable. We're going into more detail in many places than he does. His ability to convey this very well-done world in a few words is actually remarkable.
They also don't talk about relativity any more than, like, the time has passed. Like, they don't get into why or how any of it works.
We have talked about it more than he does.
Yeah. It's just like...
He just assumes that.
And because of relativity, it's now 700 years in the future. And you're like, okay. Yeah.
I feel like there's probably a bunch of readers who read books like me where, like, with the relativity numbers came into play, and I was just like, blah, 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 blah. They're going fast. Time is shifting, and like you don't have to know any of that. It's just kind of like a signal.
You don't need more than that in this book. Okay, so where were we? Oh, yes. So Mandela is now a major in the UN Army. They need to teach him how to be a leader, right? He's 23. They also have a guy that comes in called the time adjuster who needs to explain, welcome, it's 2485. And for perspective, this would be like catching Christopher Columbus up onto the present day in terms of how much time has happened.
I'm going to say, like, on behalf of the podcast, fuck Christopher Columbus.
The guy was like, oh, they have gold? We can make this work. And then just, like, rampaged. Horrible. One other technology that was super cool, so we should introduce it here in this battle, which they call a stasis field. I'm hoping, Rick, you or Andrew, understand what the hell this thing was.
What it essentially does is there's a stasis generator and it makes a bubble. And in this bubble, the time limit, so essentially the speed of light is the speed limit everywhere in the universe. The speed limit goes down when you're in this bubble. Electronics don't work. Anything that comes into the bubble traveling very quickly gets slowed down to this new speed, which I think is 16 kilometers per hour or something like that. Yeah. So the universal speed limit slows way down. So you can't bring in any advanced weaponry. So it's like a way of going back to, you have to use archery, you have to use spears and swords and things like that. And so anything that happens around it is not affected inside this stasis bubble because you can't essentially transfer matter easily between these two reference frames.
It's a force field.
It's a force field.
Yeah.
It's a force field.
But when you're in it, you can do different things than when you're outside of it.
You know how in Dune, they have spaceships, but then their personal force fields mean that you have to go in with a knife. And that's just a literary device to force hand-to-hand combat, which is more exhilarating than someone blasts you from space, which is what all of the battles so far have been. So this force field, you can just see I was oh, there's going to be a arrow battle or a medieval battle that he's setting up, which is exactly what this is. So it's a big bubble stasis field that forces them to fight hand-to-hand.
And that's a really fun plot device. I love that.
Basically, inside the war suit, you're back to normal time. So that way your nerves, for instance, still work. But if you're outside your war suit, you freeze solid. I'm going to yada some of the stuff in the battle. There is a battle. One of the enemy ships makes it to the planet and starts sending out drone attacks. But the coup de grace, the first coup de grace, there's two, is my favorite part of the entire book. This one lone dude that was out in space from the ship battle fires a drone off into space at 0.99 C. It's freaking fast, right? It can do this because it can go way faster than humans can go in terms of acceleration. Goes way off into space, turns around, and comes back at 0.99 C. This drone slams into the planet on the side where the enemy has landed. And I did some calculations. A 2-pound weight, so think a paperweight, going that speed has about the same force as Tsar Bomba, the largest hydrogen weapon ever created. That's 2 pounds. So if you've got a drone that weighs, a couple hundred pounds, this is on the order of kill the dinosaurs type meteor.
Yeah, and not an explosive, just matter that is sped up to an obscene speed.
Just stuff going fast. Relativity is cool. So slams into the planet, causes a planet-wide earthquake. Mandela's smart enough to realize, that thing hit really hard. We're going to have an earthquake. Gets everybody out of the underground bunker and sort of into the stasis field. That's sort of coup de grace 1, is this drone just wipes out the enemy force. Coup de grace 2 is they realize if we have some bombs in our stasis field. If we pick up the generator and just move it over, the bombs will be on the outside of the stasis field and they'll explode. So they move the stasis field over, explode the bombs right next door, but outside. Then have to wait. They wait around for weeks.
Because the bombs are it's so intense that they would cause a volcanic age. They're so huge that everything is melted slag around it. It would take, they did calculations, it would take 6 days to cool down or whatever to a reasonable temperature.
So they just wait around. Eventually they realize okay, it's safe, and they go home. Battle 4 is over. It's now 31, I think, 84. It took forever for this to play out because of all the relativistic speeds. And they go back and they're they arrive back at the base. And I actually want to read a part of the book.
Ooh, an excerpt.
Yeah, they get back to the base and they're like, fuck, we're going to go back on another battle. And it turns out the war's over. I could not describe it better than he can write it. This is on page 261. It's the end of the book, right?
Story time with Tommy.
The 1,143-year-long war had begun on false pretenses and only continued because the two races were unable to communicate. Once they could talk, the first question was, why did you start this thing? And answer was, me? The Taurons hadn't known war for millennia, and toward the beginning of the 21st century, it looked as though mankind was ready to outgrow the institution as well. But the old soldiers were still around, and many of them were in positions of power. They virtually ran the United Nations Exploratory and Colonization Group that was taking advantage of the newly discovered collapsar jump to explore interstellar space. Many of the early ships met with accidents and disappeared. The ex-military men were suspicious. They armed the colonizing vessels, and the first time they met a Tauron ship, they blasted it. They dusted off their medals, and the rest was going to be history. It was so good. Like, we did this because we armed them for no goddamn reason.
We should have armed them instead with knowledge.
When we were reviewing Project Hail Mary, Sarah made a really poignant comment, which is like, it's nice to read a book where the person who meets the alien life form isn't just terrified and they just like come together in science, and maybe that's some hope for us instead of blowing them up.
They have a galaxy-wide bromance.
And you can compare it one-to-one with the communication scene where they have to work hard to figure out communication in the Project Hail Mary book, and none of that work is done here. Instead, communication is not an option, not talked about, and hostility comes out first.
And then once they start shooting, nobody knows how to stop.
Because you didn't learn how to communicate.
Yeah. Humans eventually, they go from like, normal humans to humans that hatch themselves out of basically like eggs, to eventually they become a clone, like a monoclone. The Taurons are also clones. And there's this weird thing. Once the humans become clones, they realize they can communicate with the Taurons.
And it comes up as like, well, why could you communicate as a clone and not? And they're like, clone stuff.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Instead of explaining it, they're like, you couldn't understand. You're not a clone.
The loose end is just, we'll leave it hanging there.
Yeah.
It's an allegory, guys. Come on. It's a parable.
You wouldn't get it. You're not a clone.
But so immediately, as soon as they can communicate, they're like, well, that was stupid. And they quit fighting. They're waiting for these guys to come home. And they're the last ones. And once they come home, they're like, yeah, we'll decommission the army. We don't need it anymore.
So this is basically everything that we've ever done in 264 pages with like a whole bunch of cool science around it. But it's just like, war is bad. None of us know why the fuck we're doing it. We should just talk very similar to what Rick said in Wild Dark Shore.
Exactly. If you fucking learn how to send an email to these people and you save 1,143 years of planet-destroying war.
Everyone just needs to talk more.
All we need to do is figure out how to communicate, Sarah. All of sci-fi I'm learning is about communication breaking
down.
down.
It's all just about like emotional intelligence, empathy, and communication.
Well, you look at sitcoms, they were way more interesting in the 80s when people didn't have cell phones. You couldn't just call each other all the time. Now you could just call each other.
Not that we do.
Yeah, well.
We just assume the other person is an asshole.
Is that why you're not answering my calls, Tommy?
You called? No, I'm not going to get a mortgage from you, Richard. God damn it.
Come on, it'll be fun. The rates are very competitive.
This is why Rick was so shocked to find out that he was Tommy's friend. So we're starting to see like a really interesting set of themes emerge. One, obviously, like just fucking talk to each other and bad shit'll stop happening. But two, like whoever sees the new species first, their lens on the world determines what happens next. And so when you have a soldier see something, the knee-jerk reaction is kill it. But when you have a scientist, their knee-jerk reaction is like, ooh, curiosity. Let's befriend it and figure it out.
Yeah, study it, learn from it.
And humans don't like to change. They do what they're good at, right? So if you're good at killing, you'll be good at killing. If you're good at investigating, you're good at investigating, right? So classic humans just going to keep doing what they're doing.
They make a point, too, that the money that they've accumulated over the thousands of years has no purpose. So it was like
now.
The economic incentive that kept the war going isn't there anymore either, because clones don't need money, I guess.
They're post-money.
Post-money.
I have so many questions, but I'm guessing because the book was only a little over 200 pages, I'm not going to get any answers.
There is one more thing that happens. I know Andrew liked it. I don't know if you want to speak to it or if Tommy wants to, but we're just about at the very end.
Yeah. William, when he's like being debriefed, gets a packet, and it's actually from Mary Gay. And she's like, hey, I'm on one of these craven heterosexual sex planets, but I actually jumped into what they call a time shift ship. I guess it's a ship that just takes off and goes at light speed for like months. So if he goes to the planet and tells them that he's there, the ship will drop out of warp speed. Because she's in that ship, she's actually only aged like 2 months. So she's waiting for him on the ship, and they actually reconnect in one of these craven heterosexual sex planets. So him and Mary Gay at the end like have a life together. So that's kind of like a nice little happy ending.
I think they close it with a birth cert, right? Like they had a kid is the moral of the story. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a kid.
That was a trip. Thank you for dragging me along into, time relative space opera that is like weirdly queer friendly and misogynistic.
The question is, will you read the book?
Now I kind of want to. Question for you. Does he, like, is there character evolution by the end? Like, did the first few pages that I read when he was a bit of a, like, prick, does he get less pricky as a narrator?
Okay, so where I think he grew, he inherits this unit and everybody's a homosexual. And at first he's like, nope, I don't like it. And he absolutely sort of works through like being exposed to this new army. I thought there was some growth there.
And there's just like a woman that offers herself up to him and he like doesn't take advantage of her. Like at least there's some growth in that.
God, the bar is in hell. Okay.
The bar,
The bar
no, this is not a novel of personal exploration, put it that way.
You know what? I still want to read it. It sounds like the battles are pretty thrilling, and I love the idea of this is an allegory for the Vietnam War. I think that's what I'm most curious about exploring a little bit more.
Read it with that in mind.
Yeah, I'm in. You've converted me.
Good.
I'll put up with the misogyny to get the good stuff.
We have to talk about the war in Iran. We talked a lot in this episode about the massive gulf between the people who decide to go to war or who perpetuate that war and the people whose lives and families and fortunes are disrupted. Never has this been more true. This was a war that was instigated by two septuagenarians. One is a war criminal who used Iran as an excuse to bomb any other neighbors on his list. The other is a rapist trying to meme a war to keep the news cycle off of him and his cronies. He's aided by an alcoholic white nationalist secretary of defense who thinks the whole thing is Call of Duty and who truly does not care who dies. And the people who are dying, who have watched their houses or the houses of their loved ones destroyed, none of them asked for this. Many of them, if you got the chance to talk to them, would simply ask why. I think it would be easy to give in to the cynicism of Haldeman. It would be easy, and the armor that cynicism provides is maybe something we need. But right now, and I'm speaking to the Americans here, I think we owe the world to bear witness to the evil of our leaders. Protect yourselves, but if you can, don't look away. Human nature won't change, but I have to believe we can do better than this. Pagenerd is Rick Vueg, Sarah Stockdale, Andrew Corway, and me, Tommy Guy. The producer is Jay Coburn. The next book we're reading is The Dispossessed by Ursula Le Guin, and you can check out all of our upcoming books now at pagenerd.com. Happy reading! Somebody just flushed the toilet on the other side of the wall. And now I have a fear that I didn't know I had, which is that somebody could be fucking with us from the other side of the wall.
Wow, you're doing
building communication.
Yeah, he's already doing better than the humans in the torrents.
It's true.
Now go fight them.
Oh my God.
I'm going to fuck them up.
No.